For the last many months now, I have been using as my primary smartwatch the Ticwatch Pro 3 Ultra, and I really do like this watch a lot. It has fantastic battery life. It's got this awesome dual layer screen thing where you see if you can see this in the light. See, you can see some numbers on the screen, even though the screen's turned off. How cool is that? I really like this watch. But there's one thing about it that I don't so much love. And you can probably maybe guess this by looking at it. It's really big. And I'm not like a super big guy. My wrist is kind of small. So this looks like a really bulky giant watch on my wrist. I noticed the other day though that Mobvoi, the company that makes this watch, has another watch that's a step down in terms of their pricing tier, right? So this one is $299. This is like their top of the line watch, and full credit to them. It's a great watch. It's worth the $299. But the other one they have is the Ticwatch E3. It is $199. That is $100 cheaper for those of us that are maybe bad at math. And on top of that, it looks to be a little bit more sleek, more svelte, maybe a better fit for my wrist. If we take a look here on Amazon, you can kind of see what this bad boy looks like. $199, as I said. It's the same processor, the Snapdragon 4100, same thing as on the one I have on now, the Pro 3 Ultra, but it just looks a bit smaller. I don't know how the feature set really changes. We're going to dive into that because I have the thing in front of me here today because they agreed to send this out to me to have me do another review of another one of their products. So the first thing we need to do is unbox it and get some first impressions. So let's go to the overhead camera here and let's take a look at this thing, the Ticwatch E3 by Mobvoi. What do we have here? Snapdragon Wear 4100 platform, so again, same processor, 2.5D curved display. So evidently this display is curved a little bit. Not sure what that's going to look like. We're going to find out. IP68 swim suitable. That is awesome. I am one of those people that I will swim with my watch on. I will take a shower with my watch on. I don't care. I want it to be waterproof. 20 plus professional workout modes. That's something I believe mine does have as well. 24/7 heart rate, blood oxygen saturation monitoring, stress and sleep tracking. So battery life is going to be a big thing for me to kind of suss out here because with this guy, with this sort of LCD display, and it also has a mode it goes into when I'm sleeping that is a very low power mode. I get 3, 4, 5 days battery life on this thing at a time. So hopefully we get something similar. USB charging dock, which is really a dock, more of like a magnetic cable, whatever. Speaker, mic support, Google Pay, Google Assistant, GPS built in, and a whole bunch of watch faces. All right, there's a lot of good stuff there. So let's slide the lid off of it. And there we go. So, I mean, look, already, I feel like that thing already looks a little bit smaller. Maybe it's actually not that much smaller in terms of the actual physical size. Maybe it's not as thick. I don't know. Maybe it's just an illusion and it won't do me any good at all. Maybe it'll be exactly the same. I do like this packaging though. I like this kind of artwork in it. This is really cool. It's an interesting look. Pulling the thing out. I believe it is definitely lighter though. This does feel a bit lighter. We'll get a weight on both of these in a minute. It is still relatively thick though. Okay, so it is similarly thick to the one that I have on. I guess we're going to have to wait and see when it's actually on my wrist. Does it appear to be any smaller? I really don't think it is. I think it's almost the exact same size. So we might have to throw that hope out the window that it'll be a better fit for my large wrist, and we'll review it from another perspective. Here's the charging thing. I believe this is the exact same charger that works on this. So I will have 2 of these around the house now, and that is a good thing. And of course, there's some documentation in there, but not really much more that is important. Let's take the old one off and we'll set them side by side, and you can really see I have an aftermarket magnetic watch band on here, but they are pretty much the exact same size. Now, it is possible that the screens might be different sizes. The bezel here looks to be a little bit bigger. Let's see if we can power this thing up. Yeah, I believe that the screen is bigger on the Pro 3 Ultra, despite the fact that the bodies are about the same size. So as we're going through this setup here, let's look at that curved glass. It is very slight, but it does taper. You can feel it. There's no like sharp edge as it comes to the bezel here. The build quality is nice as usual. This thing is very solid feeling. Of course, you've got a couple of buttons here on the side. They don't rotate or anything. They're just standard buttons, and I believe these should be somewhat programmable as they are on my Pro 3 Ultra. I think this is sort of just the screen that's there whenever you raise to wake. Yep, so you can probably set this to always on. We can dive into some of this stuff later as well. You've got your array of sensors on the bottom, your charging port there, speaker, microphone probably here on this side. And as you probably have seen, we have gone through our setup, and after the setup, everything is running really pretty darn well. We're gonna go ahead and enable tracking of everything and hit done. So that's gonna get us rolling. There is an update that can be installed. And this is a standard Wear OS device, right? So swiping to the left gets you this sort of Google feed, swiping down gets you your settings, swiping up gets you notifications, and then to the right are tiles that you can set to whatever you want them to be. There's several different options there. So since we've established that the size is pretty similar, let's check out the weight, because that is also important. I mentioned this is an aftermarket band, so keep that in mind. Let's see how we can get these so that they're fully on the scale. The new one, the E3, is 46 grams. The Pro 3 Ultra is 64 grams. So there is quite the difference in terms of weight, even though there's not much of a difference in terms of actual size. It really is strange because it looks like the E3 should be so much smaller, but in actuality, when you put them up against each other, they just aren't. The sizes, it is maybe, if you look at it this way, from this edge, you can see that the Ultra does stick out just a little bit further on either side. So the E3 is lighter and just a hair smaller than the Ultra. So you can see here, this is the two different options in terms of an always on display. And then there's actually a third option here. So with the E3, this is what you're gonna have. It's gonna be this black and white type thing. It's gonna save power by doing this, right? Because it's an OLED. So it's only lighting up the pixels that are relevant there. With the Pro Ultra though, this LCD screen is using effectively no power at all. I would imagine this probably jumps around, probably moves around to prevent burn-in. And then of course, by hitting a button or touching the screen on either, they're both then going to wake up. Now, you can also with the E3 turn off the always on display so that you just have a black screen. And then whenever you lift the thing, you should get a tilt to wake that will give you something that looks like this. Of course, the Pro 3 Ultra can also have an always-on display turned on that is very similar, but in my mind, using that LCD version is just simply the smart way to go because you're going to save so much battery. Now, this is good news to see here that there is an essential mode that can be enabled, and when this essential mode is turned on, you're not going to get notifications. It's pretty much going to completely silence the thing when it boots into this, but you're going to save a ton of battery. So when you're asleep, this is the mode that this thing needs to be in, and by virtue of doing that, this thing should be able to extend its battery pretty far. This is pretty much the only thing you're going to be able to see with essential mode turned on, and then you can just simply reboot the thing and it will come back into the normal mode. But you can set it to a schedule on the Pro 3 Ultra. I assume it's the same here as well, so that at a certain time it'll go into essential mode and then come out of it the next morning, kind of automatically saving you a ton of battery. And it will still track your sleep in essential mode. So in order to schedule that essential mode, you're going to wake up your watch, you're going to click that button again to get into your apps. And then you're going to scroll down. You can see how smooth this scrolling is, by the way. It's really nice. Find essential mode, select it, slide over here. I'm going to turn on auto by timer on. And we're going to set this thing to 10:30 p.m. is fine to turn on. And then we're going to turn it back off at like 6:30 a.m. So now at those times, essential mode is going to just go ahead and turn itself on. And like I said, sleep tracking will continue still through that. All right, so it's got a bunch of updates to download. I'm gonna let it do its thing. I'm gonna fully charge it, and then I'm gonna wear the thing and get an idea of what kind of battery life and performance I can expect in day-to-day use, and then I'll come back and finish this video. So I've been wearing this watch for a little while now, and I'll tell you two things that I've noticed immediately. Thing number one that I first noticed when I put it on, you really do feel that lightness, that lack of weight when compared to the Pro 3 Ultra. This thing feels very, very light by comparison. I'm sure there are lighter watches, but I've been wearing a very heavy watch, so to me, this feels light. The second thing is, she is a thick watch. So get used to that. It is just as thick as the Pro 3 Ultra, but something about it actually makes it look thicker. It's not thicker, but it looks thicker. Okay, so I've had the Ticwatch E3 on for about a full day. That includes a night. Now, I did use the essential mode, which I believe kicked in at 10 p.m. is what I actually eventually set it to. And then it left essential mode at 6:30 a.m. when it is that I am awake. So I've had it on for, like I said, about a full day, and I am right about halfway through my charge. I'm at about 60%. So I think that in terms of battery life, we can pretty safely assume this is a 2-day watch. I'll probably get through another day, and then sometime in the morning probably need to charge the thing. So that's not too bad. Now keep in mind the Pro 3 Ultra was like 3, 4, sometimes even 5-day battery life, so it's not quite as good as that. I also did leave the settings as they were, which was lift to wake, but no always on display. If you turn on that always on display, you're probably going to hurt your battery life a bit more from there. But I do think the battery life is passable. A couple of days is good enough. That gives me some leeway in case I forget to charge the thing. In terms of performance, it's outstanding. The thing lags almost never. It's the same as my Pro 3 Ultra. It jumps from thing to thing very quickly. Notifications pop up very quickly. I'm able to dismiss them or interact with them very, very quickly. No complaints at all with the performance on this watch. I also want to add that sleeping with it on, because of how lightweight it is, was pretty comfortable. The only thing I would change looking back is that I would turn off, and there's a setting to do this in the essential mode. You're going to want to turn off the setting so that it will wake whenever you lift it up when it's in essential mode, because sleeping, you roll over, suddenly there's a bright light in your face. That might wake you up, but there's a setting to turn that off, save some more battery life potentially that way as well. And speaking of sleeping, the tracking stuff works absolutely fine. You're going to use the Mobvoi app to do this, and you can see it is tracking my heart rate, it is tracking my blood oxygen, it is tracking my sleeping, my steps, everything is going really, really well. And this is all happening 24/7 in the background, no additional effort needed. So yeah, I'm really happy with the tracking stuff. But I mean, all that stuff being said, what is the verdict on this watch? Well, we're talking about a $199 watch, but on Amazon, there's often a $40 coupon down there, which drops it down to like $160. For $199, I think it's a solid watch. I think it feels really good. The tracking is good. The battery life is solid. The screen is a bit smaller than what I'm used to, but it's totally fine. I've adjusted to it very, very quickly. Google Assistant is quick. There's really not much for me to complain about on this device. And then if you drop it to $160, it's a really good buy. Now, Wear OS 3, 3.1, whatever, I don't know if that stuff, when it's going to hit this watch, if it hits it at all. So if you buy it, maybe keep that in mind if you're really interested in the new version of Wear OS. Keep that in mind, because I don't know what's going on with that. I've heard that maybe it is coming, maybe it's not coming. I don't know. But as it is today, could you use it regardless without that new version of Wear OS? Absolutely. I really do enjoy this watch. I think it's very good. And for the price, it's going to be difficult to beat. Remember, if you do want to purchase this watch, there will be an affiliate link in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Should you choose to use that link, I will receive commission off that purchase. Thanks to Mobvoi for sending this watch out to me to review. As always, they are seeing my review the same time as you are. They did not receive any sort of early copy, nor did I take any payment for this review, because it is a review and I don't take money to review products, because that would be very difficult to remain objective during. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your way out. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.